Hi, welcome to our diabetes show today. This is about preventing diabetes in the first place so you don't get it. But if you do have it, 90% chance you can get rid of it by listening to us. We'll give you information and you can use additional references, books you can maybe get at the library or buy them. This is a disease that causes tremendous number of illnesses, and we will teach you how to prevent them in the first place. Prevention is the cure, okay? But if you do have it, you can get rid of it probably in a month or two. Mm-hmm. That easy. Don't accept it and you say, oh, give me the medicine. I'll be all right. Well, medicine will make you a bit better for a while. You may live a little longer, but you will die 20 years before your time, and you will have many of the disabilities from diabetes. Yes, this is true, and I'll show you how. And the science for this really was discovered and written about many years ago. And that's what's so sad, that we, the medical doctors, industry, pharmaceutical companies, the medical school, public health, have the patients surrounded, let them have these diseases, and we don't tell them how to get rid of it. Today, I'm going to teach you how to get rid of diabetes. Get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. The original research really was, it's not the very first one, but he proved it. Joseph R. Kraft is a book I'm going to hold up to you. You can see him on YouTube when he's 92 or so, 6 years old, speaking to Cummings, the biggest obesity doctor in the world. And he is saying on there, I will be looking down upon you for many years before you all will wake up and change this. He's been right. I think he's watching us right now. A great book to read. It's on Amazon. And what he's really all about is that he did testing of serum insulin in children starting at age 3 through 90-something, yes. And he found that's the secret to catch this early. It's a lot easier if we caught this in children, teach them how to eat right, lose 5 pounds, and their diabetes is gone. The reason being is the serum insulin is elevated 10 to 15 years before the blood sugar is up. Oh, you got diabetes. No, if we knew the insulin levels and then told the people to eat correctly, they would never get diabetes. A lot of the complications of diabetes occur when the people have no symptoms. Yeah, the road to elevated blood sugars is filled full of complications that are occurring in patients where they may have no symptoms, although some will just grab their chest and die. 50% of people who die from heart attacks just grab their chest and they're dead. No resuscitation, no surgery, no medication. Yes, 50%. Yeah, and 40%, if you did nothing, they get better. Just teach them to eat right. Another 10%, they do stents and cardiac surgeries. You see my point? 90% of these illnesses could be prevented by proper lifestyle. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do. I'm a preventer, okay? I don't operate on the heart. I prevent the disease by giving you the information, but you must not be closed-minded. You must have an open mind and gather the information. And it's not just me. What I'm saying is in a lot of books, but I've been onto this for many, 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 many years. Let's look a minute. These diseases here, if somehow we can get a hold of one of these, I'm at the Divine Cafe, 11:30 Fridays. You can pick up a free copy from me. And there's a QR code that you'll notice right there. That QR code will lead to about 700 TV shows that were then through public access library here, that would then went onto YouTube. They're on there, and you can go for a half hour. Yes, yes. That QR code will lead to that. Yes, and but what are some of the diseases caused by diabetes? Most of what they call Alzheimer's disease is from people with diabetes, because they have developed insulin resistance in the brain, and the brain cells can't get the sugar, and they don't work right. So cognitive impairment, increased memory loss is a long curve that can last many years, and then all of a sudden you essentially have no brain function, although you're at home, confused, can't remember anything. Maybe they moved you to a nursing home by now. Peter Whitehouse, a Cleveland Clinic, many years ago, 20 years ago now, I think, a neurologist who saw all the people with memory loss at the Cleveland Clinic, thousands of patients. He decided Alzheimer's disease does not exist. He called it a myth. It's the name of his book. Read it. It's available on Amazon. I read it. It totally, and I was a neurosurgeon, it totally changed my way of thinking of the disease, and I gave a copy to every neurologist in our group. I'm a neurosurgeon, to the neurologist, and you know, I hate to admit it, not one of them read the book and came back to me, Rudy, I don't agree with this, I do agree with that, yeah. And then I wrote one after that, because I gathered the information. He called it a myth, I called it a fraud. Alzheimer's disease is something when your brain doesn't work anymore, and they call it Alzheimer's disease. There are a few people who have a genetic thing, the AE4, and they have it. But again, those people do not develop the disease a good 50% of the time if they eat proper food, exercise properly, use their brain, maybe read, exercise a little bit. Dental disease, almost all dental disease is too much sugar. The bacteria that are living in your mouth, they love sugar. They love sugar. So most dental disease can be prevented. Are the dentists out there blasting away telling you to proper dental care when you're born, or soon when you have the teeth, a little later on, that you brush them regularly? The schools probably would be the ones that should really be teaching it, because they got all the kids there. Could have the dentists come in. I mean, some teach it, but there isn't much going on. You don't see it on television every day. What you see on television every day is drugs to treat diabetes and the complications that drugs cause, which could be avoided 90% of the time. So dementia, dental disease, eye disease. Most eye disease is due to diabetes. I went to 2 diabetic doctors here in town, 2 eye doctors who did mainly retinal surgery 15 years ago, and I wanted them to help me lead the fight against diabetes, because that was the #1 cause. One of the first complications of diabetes is vascular disease of small blood vessels. Actually, the first is hearing loss. Meniere's disease is almost totally a diabetic disease. And because of so tiny blood vessels supply the nerves in the ear, and then the teeth and the heart and the brain cells, because the insulin level is raised when your blood sugar goes up, and the insulin punches a hole in the intima of the blood vessels. That starts the arteriosclerotic process that is well described. Liver disease, vascular disease, multiple cancers. Cancers are 80% a sugar disease. Avoid the sugar diseases, you won't get cancer. Breast cancer, 80% related to sugar metabolism. Yet they send all the money to Indianapolis, when they could at least keep half the money here and teach people about how to stop, prevent, reverse diabetes. Okay? Nerve damage, neuropathies, numbness in the feet and the arms, amputations, dislocations, hearing loss, impotency, 7 or 8 type of cancers, all related to sugar. So you can see why I'm passionate. But what Joseph Kraft did, he did autopsies on about 383 patients. Okay, so he looked at the bottom line. He looked at the eyes and the nerves and everything under the microscope. And then what he did is took about 14,000 live patients and ran insulin curves. He pulled serum insulins because he was suspicious that was the cause of disease based on previous scientific papers. And he had 5 different curves he ran, and he clearly proved that diabetes is the cause of these diseases, and testing for serum insulins would really be a start. I even went to one of the hospitals here at a pretty well-known pediatrician who was head of the Pediatric Society one year, and I gave him this book to read. I came back a week later and he said, "Oh, I lost it." I said, "Oh, I got another one." So I gave him another one. Came back 2 weeks later. "Oh, you're the insulin man." I had no time to read it. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it, okay? But industry, I mean, let's face it, the hospital system that he works for makes a lot of money of heart attacks and strokes and diabetes and these diseases. They even have diabetic departments, but I went to visit them and a hard time getting them to read books that describe these diseases, how they can be prevented. They get medication they want to give you. Now the medical school moved onto their campus, okay? And some of the universities that I gave lectures to, they moved onto the campus. So what are we doing? We're surrounding the patient. So I wrote this book, Prevention is the Cure. Prevent it, but you can still reverse it. It is possible, and I'll show you more about it. But so school lunch program is a big one. Remember the circle around the sad face? Okay, let me read some to you. School lunch program, I look at all the diets of all the local high schools, Southwest, Homestead, Northwest, all the different ones, New York City, Chicago, different ones. And what they're feeding them is beyond description. Cinnamon rolls for breakfast. Mm-hmm. I saw that. Yeah. And all kind of buns and things for lunch. Mm-hmm. It's all in there. So I looked at New York City, and that was kind of interesting. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York. They hold up the book, very interesting to read. And he had visual loss and all kinds of symptoms when he wasn't mayor yet. I encourage you to read this book. And he determined that he had diabetes, and he went to a vegetarian way of eating, which he still does. His vision returned. And, he's in charge of the school lunch program for the city of New York. And they have federal guidelines, so that's a little bit of a problem, but somehow he got it done. His website is the best of all the school lunch programs that I looked at. I mean, you look at the site, New York City school lunch. They have free breakfast, lunch, and dinner for everyone, no matter what your income is. And he is slowly teaching them, I can see the way he is eating, a vegetarian way of eating. Friday is vegetarian day, so he's introducing it slowly. Monday, half the day is vegetarian day. So I imagine in about 2 years, they'll be all vegetarian. I'm not against that. He's going to have a healthy city. But the one thing I didn't like in there, he totally doesn't want you to eat even good fats. I don't agree with that. We're slowly getting into keto a bit here, the good fats. But let's face it, if New York City becomes largely vegetarian, he's going to have a very, very healthy population. Yeah, It just could be a little bit better, but hey, pick the best, leave the rest. I think a great book to read, and I will reread it now and then, and its website is just the greatest. So we've had a school lunch program that's been a failure in many cities. Look at our area, what they're feeding the kids is beyond belief. They are feeding them food so they become sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to have a one-page thing in the Ink Spot, the newspaper. We designed one, it'll be in there within a few days, where a picture where we really, again, with a sad face, where we are attacking the children with poor school lunch program, failure of public health. Who is head of public health? A doctor that I like, but he was an emergency doctor at one of the hospitals. So what do you think he's going to be teaching the public? They claim they don't have enough money provided by the state, but I tell you, he can always go on TV with me. I never received a phone call. And you know how much it would cost him? Nothing. And we would make, if the policy was good, at least we could debate, because what they're doing now is, and even I wonder if in the racial component, why would I say that? I looked at the Southwest, one and the one in Woodside, and compared the two. I mean, there's a lot of difference in what they're feeding one group than the other. Both are bad, but one's a lot worse than the other. Mm-hmm. What's the explanation? I don't know. The House and Senate lobbyists, they get paid a lot of money. One of the cancer doctors admitted to me that each cancer doctor was getting $500,000 in cash from the cancer drug people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cancer is a sugar feeder. Okay, oh yeah, this is true. He told me that. Cow's milk, for example, to give milk to children, which the federal program some demand, and some of the neighborhood health clinics are giving the kids milk. But if you eat Whitewash by Joe Keon, read that book. You'll never drink milk. Cow's milk, when a calf is born, it's immediately injected by a growth hormone, so the cows will grow very quickly because they can produce more milk. They get more milk to sell. Then they put the cow in a cage, and they put in pesticides and herbicides, and that's what we're giving to the kids. 57 hormones in milk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to drink cow's milk, it doesn't make any sense, but we're doing this to people. The sugar industry, processed foods, cow's milk, hospital system, lack of prevention. The medical school does not teach the medical students significantly about prevention. How do I know that? I took some of these books, which I'm going to hold up, to them, had them read them. I said, could I come in and give one lecture to your medical students about nutrition and preventing disease instead of just treating disease? No. My phone remained silent, although I know the dean of the school. So they're encircling the patient to make sure he's sick, and they can all make a lot of money. I'm telling you the truth here. Let's go over some of the other books. And I have other books coming out on prevention, preventing heart disease, preventing kidney disease, which I spoke about, but they'll be in book form. All prevention will be the thing. We already held up the book by Adams. If you are significantly overweight, we're not going to say anything about that, but you get a problem. Significantly overweight, odds are you're diabetic. And you may say, well, my blood sugar was normal. But if they did a serum insulin test, it would be elevated, guaranteed. Okay? And but here's an easy one for you, Beyond Simply Keto. This is a great book. It's a good book if you're not overweight. The reason being, she explains there's a way of eating, and then there's pictures of the recipes, breakfast, lunch, dinner. She doesn't even teach fasting, which I do teach, because that doubles the speed of getting rid of your disease. I highly recommend. You can get it at the library, Amazon. Susan Ryan, Simply Keto, I think is tremendous. She explains it pictures of the food you'll be eating. She even, the number of calories, the number of fat, the number of protein, the number of vegetables. Everything is written on each page. You will, if you want to use this to prevent, stop, reverse diabetes, if you get diabetes, you wouldn't have it in a month. Look at all the money you'd save. You lived 20, 30 years longer. You'd avoid disability, amputations, dislocations, all kind of dental diseases, all kind of eye diseases. Yes, it all would be prevented. Here's another one. And this is written by Tom Jelinek. And what I love about his book, he wrote it in a language that a layman could understand. Great to read, and it speaks about the insulin, fasting, these things. I want to mention a quick word here about fasting. That doubles the speed you could get rid of this disease, and it's great for prevention. It's what I do, not on purpose. I just do it because I feel good. In the morning, when you wake up, we have circadian rhythm in our body, so the body senses daylight is occurring, okay? And your blood sugar drops in the morning a little bit. If your blood sugar is like this, you'll not have any hunger. And that's what fasting does. In the morning, growth hormone is secreted by your hypothalamus. Glucagon, the opposite of insulin, is secreted that causes gluconeogenesis in the liver. Blood sugar is released. Adrenaline in the body. The stress hormone is secreted, and you think it's a tiger running at you, and the blood sugar is like this. You have no hunger. You can actually, so you're not eating for 16 hours. That's 16-8, okay? And you can have some liquids, some coffee, no juice because it has sugar in it, okay? When I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, which I do, 1 or 2, man, I feel optimistic. I watch the birds flying, my bird feeders in the morning. I get up at 5 o'clock, it's light. I'm looking at them. Today I had bluebirds coming in. God, it's so beautiful. If you want to learn how to take care of your family, watch a bluebird. Mom and Dad are feeding the kids, and they fly up to my window and flap their wings. Don't hit the window. And they sit on top of the bird feeders and eat. I mean, it's a love story. I'm going to take pictures of that, and I'll put it on Facebook. It's something to watch. But while you're fasting, your blood sugar is like this, and if you drink a little bit of coffee, that doubles the ketones secreted by your liver, which makes you feel better, stronger, brain works better. And that's why I feel so better, because I must be in ketone metabolism. After about 6 hours of not eating, the insulin level drops, the sugar level drops because it's been used up. We have only a teaspoonful of sugar in our blood, not very much, okay? And then we use glycogen from the liver. We have 400 grams of glycogen, and about 1,600 in the muscles. That gets used up about 6-7 hours, and then we go into ketone metabolism. Your fat cells open up because the sugar went down, the insulin went down. That opens your fat cells up. They go to the fat goes to the liver. It gets converted to ketones. Your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your pancreas, your muscles can run on ketones. Mm-hmm. They are more energetic. You feel better. You think better. That's why you feel good. And while your body then at that time undergoes what's called autophagia. It's a garbage collector, damaged cells, damaged proteins. They're all the junk is picked up and then excreted by your kidneys or your stool, and new cells are being built, okay? So autophagia, which occurs in fasting, as a reparative process in your body. So it repairs cells, less likely to get cancer, less likely to get any of these diseases. and at about 16 hours, doesn't have to be exact, then you can eat lunch and dinner. And actually, they have found if you eat 2 meals a day and go through this fasting, your diseases will go away, and odds are you'll be normal. But if that doesn't work for you, eat at least one good meal of good fats, some protein, some eggs. You can even have some berries, for example, some olives. Find out what good fats are, okay? You can look in this book. It'll tell you the difference between good and bad fats. Eat some good fats. And then dinner, 6 or 7. Try to avoid eating between the meals because your body is repairing itself. You'll feel very energetic and you weigh 134 pounds like me. Every day it's about the same. It's about the same. Insulin also affects the kidneys and retains water and sodium. So if your insulin level is down, you're going to dump out water and some sodium, and you'll quickly lose weight in the beginning. Yeah, and so to get into ketone metabolism is great. In this book by Tom Jelinek explains that in detail, easy to read. He's got some recipes in there, and what is really insulin? Really get that testing done. It's really the basis of the beginning of disease, even cancer, like pancreatic cancer. Actually, it is made from in situ insulin. So the very first cell to make insulin is the one that turns into pancreatic cancer. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I read that. So Benjamin Bickman wrote Why We Get Sick, a wonderful book to read. A little bit of time, gather knowledge, and what he really the hidden epidemic at the root. We're talking about the root of most chronic disease and how to fight it. And he even, underneath there, forward by Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. That's a good YouTube shows to watch, Jason Fung. He was a kidney doctor. Then you notice they're all diabetics that I'm looking at. So he decided to become a diabetic doctor. So now you see him on YouTube all the time. And his fasting, he recommends fasting, but more weeks or days. I don't recommend that because, that works. He's scientifically studied. But to fast for long periods of time, you may not get the right nutrients. And to me, it's not as safe as 16-8. I don't recommend fasting 18 years and under for children because they're growing, they need calories. If you want to make them a bit healthier because you feel like this kid needs to be healthier, you can give them some good fats on top of what they're eating, and maybe they'll stop eating the bad stuff. But fasting has not been extensively studied in children. So let's kind of stay from that. So in summary, what I'm saying is type 2 diabetes, which is causing 90% of diseases in this nation, is filling the hospitals, can be prevented, can be stopped. And if you want to double this, eat the right food, 70% good fats, 20% protein, the rest vegetables and berries. If you want to increase the speed of getting rid of it, do the fasting thing. It'll do 3-4 weeks. You will not have diabetes. You won't have the cost. You won't die 30 years young. You won't have those complications, amputations, dislocations, Alzheimer's disease. These can be avoided most of the time. Please look at my other YouTube shows. The nation of India has reached out to use my YouTube shows to project them out to the different languages and dialects. And I'm meeting again with them 10 o'clock. At a Zoom meeting. Our local hospitals aren't exactly knocking my door down or asking to sit at the table with me, which I invite them to take me on. I'd like to know if you agree or disagree. I changed. Keto came along after the vegetarian way of eating, which Dr. Adams is not addressing. That sort of information moves on, and I changed with it. So I want you to live to be 100, but you got to change. You can't just listen and then go back to what you've been doing. I want to pick up all of tap dance with you when I'm 100 and you're 100, okay? Maybe when I'm 110 and you're 100. Thanks for listening. Let's have a little fun while we're doing this. But I want you to read some of this stuff, listen to my other shows, go to YouTube. It'll take you 2 or 3 years to watch all those shows. I love you. I care about you. Namaste.